You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to dissect and discuss horror films, both old and new. Recently, we've been running a monthly kind of poll on our social media channels to find out what you out there think are the best films of this current decade. We started off with 2010, and the number one film for that was I Spit on Your Grave. And then 2011, the one that came out on top was You're Next. So we're now into 2012, and you can tell, but obviously by the name of the podcast, that the winner of this one was actually called The Cabin in the Woods. Before we get into that, I should probably introduce myself. I am the host of the podcast. My name is Saul Murthy, and I'm joined by this particular podcast by the big cheese, Anthony Yee.
The guy who influenced the voting.
Yeah, what was that about, man?
Call me Putin.
You got in there, Bit of wheeling, bit of dealing. Look, but
one of the guys commented, like it was like Sinister, Cabin in the Woods, Sinister. One guy was like, both of shit, and that's all he said.
I know, and I just went, yeah,
good on him.
But if you had to choose one of the two, mate, come on. But no, it's fine. If that particular person thinks they're shit, fine. I don't care. I mean, like, I thought there was some pretty good movies in the mix. I mean, I'll quickly run through them. So we had 100 Bloody Acres, which is Aussie film in there. Bit of a more of a comedy horror, that one. And then we had American Mary, which I'm actually quite a fan of. That one, I like that one. It's good.
Big fan of that one.
Yeah, I do like that one. I think it's good. And we had Barbarian Sound Studio, which is again a bit of a. I kind of felt that one wouldn't get a lot of love off the votes, but I actually have a bit of a soft spot for that one, and I think it's pretty cool. It's got Toby Jones in it, and it's a pretty twisted movie. I like it. We obviously had The Cabin in the Woods, and we had The Devil Inside, which personally I thought was a bit shit.
The devil inside.
Everyone's talking about the devil inside. We had Grabbers, again, comedy horror.
Irish film.
Yeah. John dies at the end. The movie, that is. Which was by Don Coscarelli, the guy behind Phantasm, which we recently did a podcast on. It's one of his more recent movies. We had Lords of Salem by Rob Zombie. One of his lesser loved films, actually. And we had Lovely Molly, which is Eduardo Sanchez's movie.
Was that in the James Wan universe? It feels like it is.
Lovely Molly.
Yeah.
No. The director of that was Eduardo Sanchez, one half of the creators of the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay.
Who I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing, feels like moons ago now.
Sure.
But he was a cool guy. And yeah, so not a half bad movie, that one as well. Then we had Maniac, which was the kind of a remake one with my mind's gone, Elijah Wood. My mind went blank there. I was about to say Hobbit guy. Yeah, and then we had Sinister.
That was the one that was it was between those two, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. Sinister.
Sinister is a good film.
Yeah.
If Cabin in the Woods had lost to Sinister, I'd have been like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, I kind of agree, actually. And I'll pause on that for a second, just because the last movie on the list was The Woman in Black, which was the Hammer.
Scary Corridor.
Yeah, scary corridor film, which is equally a cool film. So just going back to so like you said, the final two was Cabin in the Woods and Sinister, and for a while there, I kind of was championing more for Sinister.
Yeah, I thought you would be.
And I think that's because for me, my memory of it's been a long time since I watched Cabin in the Woods, and I actually watched Sinister for the first time only about 2 years ago at the horror movie camp out that I went to. It was with Miles. It was one of the it was people that don't know horror movie camp out. It's a shame it doesn't look like they're doing it this year. So yeah, look, I went to see Sinister only just a couple of years ago actually, and And I really dug it. I think it's a cool film. I know there's a few people that don't. Maybe it's because it's a slow burner, but it kind of gets under your skin a bit.
It's very creepy. Kids killing parents in really horrific ways.
Yeah, as it was coming down to those two, I was kind of leaning more to Sinister. And the only reason, right, it's because from my memory of Cabin in the Woods, which admittedly, I probably watched it the last time I watched that, with the exception of just recently for the podcast, was probably when it came out in the movies.
Yes.
So it was a long time ago. So my memory, not that I didn't love it, because I did. I thought I actually do like the movie, but my memory of it was that it wasn't so much horror.
No, that's the thing. I think why it was getting a bit of a backlash is it's not the first thing I would classify as a genuine old school horror film.
Yeah.
In the sense that Predator is a horror, Alien is a horror. Yes, Cabin in the Woods is a horror. But it's made by guys who are fans of the genre.
Yes.
But don't work in the genre.
Yes.
So it has this element of storytelling to it where it is really told well.
Yeah.
But it's that horror filmmaker who loves horror.
Yeah.
You'll get a sense that this guy or this girl is very much a horror fan. Whereas this, you get a sense of like, here's a bunch of guys who work in television who've got a bit of a budget. He can say fuck, and they do.
Yeah.
But it to me, and that was the thing too. Cabin in the Woods. I guess if we're kicking off into the analysis now.
Yeah. We will. Yeah.
I got the script a year before it came out.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember you talking to me about it. Yeah.
And I read it. I think I told you about it. I read it. This reads like a really cool telly movie, but I really can't see this happening as a film. Like, to me, it's a TV show at the time. I'd say this is a TV show, take out the swearing and take out blood and guts, or not be so graphic with blood and guts, and it'd be a TV show.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't see this being a film at all. And lo and behold, it got made into a film, pretty much almost word for word. My draft is an earlier draft.
Yes.
And I'm like, and when I saw it, I go, that's what you were seeing in your head. Okay, I kind of get it now. Yeah, okay. But I wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't scary. It was. Yeah, it made you tense, but it wasn't scary. It made you squirm, but it wasn't gory. From pure horror. So you could argue.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few moments at the end, like it wasn't scary, but kind of cheated on the gore factor side of things.
Yeah, but the cool thing behind it was the idea. That's what
and that's the thing, and that's what I'd forgotten when I kind of rewatched it. I kind of went back into it, and I was just like, it's. And I said to you this offline as well, and I'll say it for the sake of the podcast, is it's incredibly meta. And it's but it's in a rewarding way, not in a pompous way. So it's So I was watching, and there's a lot of references to, like, I mean, the most notable one is The Evil Dead, because that's the whole, kids going to a cabin in the woods, but there's a lot of other things that are thrown into the mix as well that they use, and they rely heavily on those, particularly at the very end when All and Sundry starts coming out. But yeah, I just kind of. Particularly the opener, because and I guess that's where maybe we'll touch on that now. But the opening scene just before we get the opening title credit come up is the two dudes chatting, just as as you would as in an office.
Yeah, Citizen and I forget the other guy. The way I read in the script, I think they were swapped in terms of the age, because one of them's older than the other.
Yeah,
and they originally read in the script as being more like. One's 40, the other one's early 30s, where these guys are both north of 40, and they're both a bit more jaded, bitter at what they do.
Yeah.
And again, it's a good misdirect, but it's office workers talking shit.
Yeah.
It has this Whedon-esque rhythm to it. Drew Goddard's the other writer, and Drew Goddard cut his teeth on Whedon shows. So
Yeah.
But it has this Whedon-esque feel to it, and you don't realise just how much. Who's the guy who plays the dude from The West Wing? I forgot his name.
Oh, the Richard Jenkins one?
Yeah. No, the other one.
Bradley Whitford, you mean?
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah,
you don't realise how much about Bradley Whitford, because at that point you just knew him from Aaron Sorkin's writing to The West Wing, just how much he is built to speak Whedon's dialogue. Same with Downey Jr.
Yes.
Downey Jr. And the guy who played Ultron, the guy who's in the black hat and Danny Crane, not Danny Crane, the other guy from, but
you mean Paul Bettany?
Yeah, the way he's built to say weird and dialogue. Where Ridford is born to speak that because he makes it feel like it's his own. He's literally speaking naturally and so on and so forth. And then that's the opening shot is them discussing an everyday mundane thing, which is pregnant. There's a baby proofing the house because woman's about to have a baby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And it's and then you just get the whole, as I said, the credit. So and I kind of forgot that opener, to be honest. I mean, there's pockets I do remember in it, but I just was like, oh yeah. But from I guess that sets the tone. The reason I'm mentioning it in detail is because it heavily sets the tone of what we're about to see. That this is no ordinary horror film.
Yes.
And it's going to be very much told from a perspective that we may never have seen before, which was at the time incredibly fresh to see, and I thought that was kind of cool. So my point of saying all that though was that as I was sitting down watching it again recently, I was like, yeah, that's right. This is why this has gotten vote. This is why it was a narrow vote. Because it is a very smart film from a dialogue point of view, and even the plot line, as far fetched as it goes, it's tangible, and it kind of it has enough there to kind of the ending is satisfactory enough because it earns its rewards, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so. And it's trying to be faithful to its own internal logic, the rules that it sets up. Yeah. It stands up to scrutiny. It probably doesn't stand up to heavy scrutiny, but that's with most things. But it does. Like you kind of once you realise what they're doing and what's going on. Yeah. It just sort of backtracks into reverse engineers into the tropes. Because the way they've done it is they fit in these classic horror tropes: the virgin, the clown, the whatever, the athlete, the jock. Yeah. And then taking those tropes and there's a reason why those tropes exist, and then you do it back and go, okay, and the virgin's death is optional. Oh, okay, I get that. And the whore's the first one to go. And okay. So you go, okay, cool. They tried to make a reason for it in a really sci-fi way, and there's that sci-fi element that made me think this is really inaccessible. Yeah, they can make it as a TV show, but it's not going to make it as a film.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So like, it's something that you've touched on before with movies. If you can make the villain's actions believable, and that they have a justified reason for their actions, it makes you, as a viewer, kind of appreciate the dynamics of their journey.
Yeah.
And this does that, and I was watching it as it was unfolding, going, this is actually, hats off. It's smart writing, and we've already. I'm opening the door now for you to talk about Joss Whedon, because I know you're a fan of his work. So
well, it's literally his mantra of give the reason, the bad guys, and you can guess they're not real villains per se, but they are bad guys, and they're the people who are literally pulling the puppet strings to try and kill these young kids. Yeah. If they are the bad guys, they literally have a good reason to do so. It's just like, don't do it, the world dies. So it is literally that trope, literally spelled out. It's almost I know they didn't. I know they originally wrote this as a homage to a horror film that they would like to see on TV, on screen. Yeah. If they literally went to the approach of let's take this mantra of giving the good guy a good reason. What better reason can be that if you don't do what you do, we all die? It's twice as worse as Thanos, because Thanos would only wipe out half the world.
That's right.
That trope, comes up a lot, I realised, in Hollywood films. Because I re-saw one of the Da Vinci Code books, Inferno, which is about the same thing. The bad guy in that is literally trying to wipe out half the world. So. Yep. But that's what these guys are doing. They're putting these kids through the ringer, because it's not enough to kill them in a particular order, but they have to suffer, which was the other rule, which they stay faithful to. And then the dialogue is all. Apparently the way it happened, they literally booked themselves into a hotel room with 2 floors on it. One wrote upstairs, the other one wrote downstairs. Okay. And they wrote over a weekend and a bit. They literally would get up at 6. Who the fuck gets up at 6 to write, but whatever. And they literally would sit down, divide it into 2, and literally would yell at each other from both the balcony and the downstairs floor, saying, "I've done scene 3, have a read," and they throw it down to each other. And that's what they did. And they would yell things like, "Doesn't matter if the bullets aren't silver, if you're going to shoot the werewolf and scare it away," and like things like that.
Yeah.
And Ryan Wing was like, "This is a cool thing."
So I'm just trying to. I get the idea of talking to one another, but how did it break down as far as who was writing what? Because so were they writing a scene each, or?
Yeah, I think they were ultimately. I think they may have done the initial thing of breaking it into 2 halves.
Yeah.
But then, they would just go through scene by scene and would backwards and forward the scenes and script edit each other because they'd worked together for so long now. They knew each other's rhythm. And
sure.
And apparently Drew got it because it was always intended for Drew to direct it because this was going to be his big Hollywood debut to direct something.
And it was.
And halfway through, Whedon said, "I think I want to direct this." And Goddard, first thing he thought was like, "That's a shit thing to say." Secondly, he's thinking, "I know this is a good project because he just wants to take it away." And then
yeah.
And so, that was the other sort of big behind-the-scenes story that I knew about the creation of the project.
But ultimately, Drew did direct it, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, Justin said it in jest. So,
I see. I'm
half joking.
I wasn't sure if we were having another contentious kind of Spielberg Hopper moment there for us.
Well, you and me, because I've taken scripts off you before.
Yeah, man, don't I know it?
I really suck.
That bit that you wrote, that was really good. I'm just going to use that. Yeah.
But you know, the courtesy saying, "Hey, I'm about to nick your idea," and like somebody else we know just says, "I've done it," and we both go, "What?"
Yeah, true.
Not saying who that is. Anyway.
No.
Yeah.
So look, just on Drew Goddard Day, because after this, there's a bit of a gap. And he didn't really do it. I mean, I say he didn't do anything. He did a couple of episodes of The Good Place, but he didn't do anything until fairly recently, until Bad Times at the El Royale had come out. And I still haven't seen that movie.
No, I haven't seen it either.
But
I know he got back into script doctoring a little bit.
Yeah, he's done a lot of that, and a lot of producing and stuff too. So it's not like he's been sitting on his laurels. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but directing is a very specific kind of hell you want to put yourself through.
Yeah, I guess so.
Fucking James Cameron, right? The new Terminator movie's coming out.
Yeah.
He's producing that fucker. You can tell his fingerprints are going to be all over it, but the actual pain of actually fucking calling action, he's giving that to somebody else.
Yes.
You can tell he's just like, I fucking go to the deepest trenches of the oceans on a daily basis.
Yeah.
On this shit again.
Yeah. That's right.
But you're right. He has disappeared. I thought if he wanted to use it to launch his career, he could have, but he didn't. He stepped back.
Yeah, I guess that's my point, because Cabin in the Woods was a successful movie, right? So you think people would be kind of chomping at a bit to kind of get somebody like that back behind the camera, and it's taken a while to come around. But as I said, I've not seen it. The Bad Times at the El Royale did come out, and that did reunite him with Chris Hemsworth again. Which was interesting. So, and I think that just looking at IMDb and just now, he's kind of down to kind of direct another movie on the horizon, but we'll wait and see. With Joss Whedon, though, let's obviously kind of pair ourselves back to talk about him. Obviously, kind of a lot of his stuff was the written stuff. So we're talking at this stage where it dropped. We were already talking about how he had been through Buffy and Firefly and Dollhouse, which also had 2 of its cast members in this movie. With
the stoner guy and who else?
The girl that was working as the scientist, Amy.
So I call her Amy.
Amy Acker.
From Angel. Yep. Sorry. Yep.
So she's in this too, which is kind of cool. It often happens where you kind of keep the players close to you that have worked with you in the past. But we're only talking. So when Cabin in the Woods came out, which was 2011, 2012, we're only kind of a heartbeat away from the Avengers kind of coming out. It was like the next project Whedon was working on.
Yes.
So
he just done Firefly, which proved he could do a feature film.
yeah.
And I think he obviously that was the culmination of a almost a quest for him to get that story done.
Yeah.
And you kind of got the impression, with the benefit of hindsight, that he was almost relieved that it didn't become a success, because that means he could walk away from it.
Yes.
I think critically it was loved, and he was very happy with the result, but it just didn't make money.
Yeah.
Now it's almost like, well, I've done it now. And he actually came out and said, like, I can't look at that film and see all the mistakes I've made in it. But his next project was Wonder Woman, which we've talked about in other podcasts.
Yes.
Which, again, I've read the script for that, and it's on YouTube. They've done a script reading of it on YouTube.
Oh, seriously?
If you can sit through that, it's annoying as fuck, because the narrator stumbles over every third word. You want to punch him right in it. But the script itself it's really good, but it's a telling movie. It really reads like a 90-minute Buffy.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel epic to me. But again, neither did this film. And at this point, we didn't think he could do epic. And then the Avengers came out and went, oh, shit, he can. And he's faithful to his wife and everything. Oh, wow, what an awesome guy.
Yeah. I know he's had his own fall from grace.
We're here to talk about his work.
Yeah.
The man seriously is as a storyteller, like, to me, second to none. I think he's not perfect, but even his imperfections, this sounds like a real fanboy thing to say, it's very similar to him.
Yes.
And there's lots to love about it. It's not, and if you're not in the mood for it, which I am too, like, I enjoy other storytellers.
Yeah. Yeah,
then I walk away. But I just find there's a lot to enjoy about his work, because it's clever in a way that I think is clever.
Yep.
And he always sends a zig when you think he's going to zag, and you look back and go, oh yeah, it's really fucking smart and funny and everything else. And So I think this is a interesting stepping stone in his career, because he's trying to get away from TV.
Yes.
Getting more into film. He's made a feature film. He's helping a mate with this one. And he's on set. There's behind the scenes footage of him on set. And he's still there. Yeah, you can tell this is him evolving to his next stage of evolution. And then, of course, Avengers happens, and then his life blows up, and woo!
Yeah, and quite right. He's had to take a step away for a little bit, but he's working on another TV project, I think. So,
going back.
We may well.
Don't say that. Going back to what he's going back to what he knows.
So we've kind of been kind of glossing around a little bit, and we are. I'm now going to attempt to kind of go through the plot line in about half an hour, because I'm going to try and keep this podcast to within an hour.
It's fucking the other one, Nick and Miles and Greer. They just took their heads
Yeah.
off.
So look, all right. So let's. So we've already spoken about the intro bit. So we're essentially following. It's 5, isn't it? Students, American college students. We have Dana, who's supposedly the virgin. We have.
She's a nice girl.
She's a nice girl. Yeah. We also have Holden, which is the bookworm, the smart dude.
The smart dude is a really good-looking smart dude.
Good-looking smart dude, who's actually played by Jesse Williams, and he was in Grey's Anatomy, or was he one of those doctor ones? Anyway,
he's like this video game about androids, which is really huge. He's so huge, I've forgotten the name, but anyway.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Anna Hutchinson, who's a Kiwi in real life.
Yeah, right. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so there's a remake of Jacob's Ladder being made.
Oh, is it?
Apparently, and he's in that. There you go.
Right.
Wow.
There you
go. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So there's Holden, as we said. Then we've got Marty, who is the stoner dude played by Frank Kranz.
And he's the dude from Dollhouse.
Dollhouse, that's right, yeah. And then we get.
I got the sense that he very much is
that guy.
Whedon has a love for this guy because he feels Whedon resonates with him a fair bit.
Yeah.
And I find him kind of annoying, and the parts he plays kind of annoying, and the rhythm of his acting kind of annoying.
Right.
But yeah, he's just a dude. He's smart and insightful.
See, it's interesting you say that because I kind of like that characteristic in him. I'm not saying that I don't think he's annoying because I get where you're coming from, but I kind of like that. So and I like that with him in the dollhouse too, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So that's and then we got Jules, who's the
Jules is the Anna Hudson. She's a Kiwi in real life, but she's the loose one, the slut.
Yeah, the loose one. That's right. And then we get Kurt, who's played by this guy called Chris Hemsworth.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. No.
So the way they work is they're supposed to be tropes. Kirsten's the virgin the way in. She's the lead. Chris is the douchebag jock. Yep. Anna the slut and loose one. Marty Fran Krantz is supposed to be the stone dude.
Yep.
And Holden, like Jesse's supposed to be the bookworm. And all five of them aren't that at all. They have, like, Chris Hemsworth's Kurt is quite smart.
Yeah.
Kristen's clearly not a virgin. She's just a girl who's she's had an affair with the professor, so she's made a dumb choice.
Yeah.
Jules is just a friend who's a bit outgoing. He comes across initially. She's not at all slutty. She's outgoing. And Holden's clearly a jock too. He's like just quiet. Yeah. Like he's been a bit both worlds. So automatically they've got three dimensions to them. They're not straight away pigeonholed into tropes.
Absolutely, and that's what I really loved about it too. Because I was just like, they're not who they first appear to be on paper. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And so straight away, it's out of the B grade horror bucket in that the dialogue has got stuff to them, and the interactions got to them, and the acting is good. And they drive from a camper to go to Kurt's cousin's cabin in the woods, and as they drive off, there's a guy an electrician on a pole.
Yeah.
Something like looking over them, so they're being spied upon, which is weird.
Yeah, and we never see him again.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, just adding mystery for the sake of mystery's sake. But I did think that. So is that implying that they've been observed for a while?
Yeah, they've been targeted, and you get the dialogue from Leon that comes on that. They have I would assume they work several years in advance, but they have a number of kids they keep under observation.
Yeah.
And they make it almost Adjustment Bureau style. They make it so these kids cross paths and they can group them together and make it so they end up being together on this one night of the year that they have to die. And you would assume that they have a backward catalogue keeps for the next year. Because I do things like put stuff in Jules's shampoo bottle when she became blonde, and that lowered her inhibition. So it's this whole Big Brother Men in Black thing where they live life.
But like, so because the only thing with that is like, so they obviously still need to get them to this cabin, which there is this throwaway line right at the end where one of them says, I don't even remember her having a cousin or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't think Kurt has a cousin.
Yeah, you kind of go, what?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously that's the thing, and the whole thing, the big reveal, big picture thing here is that every major country, you get the impression, does this ritual, and all it takes is one to succeed.
Yeah,
and the Earth is fine for another year. And each one has like the horror tropes. So the big Japanese horror trope is the one they refer to the most.
Yeah.
Because Japan has a perfect record, blah, blah, blah. And so, so you get this sense that this is the Americans' way of doing horror, putting kids through suffering by putting them through these horrific tropes, which in this universe aren't movie tropes. They are just different ways of using horrors from the old world to scare and kill people.
But there's a great line in there, isn't there, like from the Amy Acker character later on, where she talks about, because somebody said, it's the security guard guy that's talking to her, and he says it's the stuff of nightmares, and she goes, no, the nightmares are based on these kind of creatures.
Based on this, so they used to exist.
Yeah, and I really like that, because it kind of flips things around again. And we've spoken about that as well, about various things about where mythology, stories in mythology comes from originally, and because they must have been born out of something.
Well, the classic one is dragons. There's dragons exist in every major culture. They haven't spoken to each other. Why is that? Are they hangovers from dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Probably. But who knows? But yeah, who knows? Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So I kind of like that, and I guess, and again, I'm mentioning that because it just lends weight to the strength of the script, and I am going to probably keep championing about it because I feel like this is why this movie resonates so well, and it has a lot to do with the script more than anything else. Like, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a
smart bit of play. Good ideas. If you've got good ideas, then the rest is execution. Yeah. But one doesn't really work without the other. I mean, good execution with a thin idea can make you go, wow, pretty lights. But if you have a great idea and good execution, because something a great idea but poorly executed makes you go, oh, that could have been so much better.
Yeah.
But it's great ideas and good execution. So you're going to enjoy the ride. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. So we essentially follow these kids, as you said, to the cabin. But on the way, they stop off at the, again, a bit of a movie trope, but they stop off at the abandoned kind of
petrol station,
gas station, and they've got the token kind of weird dude
called Mordecai. Who's there to warn them. He's literally there as a part of the ritual, which is he's there to tell them don't go there. Yeah. So they freely refuse to go there. So he acts all creepy.
But he is creepy too, because there's that great bit later on where he calls up the the guys at the office, so to speak, and he really believes this shit as well. Like he's really kind of he's a believer of the these ritual. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a classic human condition too that it's like global warming. Let's face it. It's a real thing, but just most humans don't do anything about it because to think about it and worry about it is too hard.
That's right.
That's what I think anyway. And so the same with him. What he's saying is all true, but the other guys make fun of him by pretending that he's on speakerphone because it's just a way to deal with the day-to-day pressure. If you ever think about it, you're going to fucking just cower in a corner. So you just might as well make fun of the guy. Which is what happens because he tells them they go off. And then he calls up these two guys, Citizen and Hadley. Yeah. He tells them, the lambs have gone to the blah. And they're like, yeah, fantastic stuff, man. You just 100% like always, and they keep making fun of him. So again, that to me like a real buck moment. Like, I'm on speakerphone. I'm on speakerphone. Like that is real. Like, and to me, that took me that when I read them. Well, I could see that on TV, but as a film, that's like what? But it works. Yeah. Like I remember watching that. I saw this movie with Greer, fellow podcaster.
Hey.
You were downstairs getting your degree. It was above the film school. When you were doing your course
at Metro Screen.
Yeah, Metro Screen. Yeah, and we went upstairs to watch the movie, and you were downstairs.
Oh right.
Yeah. We thought it was great. But you were getting an education.
Did I catch up with you, or did you?
Yeah, I think you did afterwards.
All right. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I must have seen it sometime around that period then, because I definitely remember going to see it at the movies. Anyway, so I must have had some kind of time during my kind of getting my career sorted out. But anyway, okay, so so when they turn up at the eventually turn up at the cabin, there's a lot of kind of sexual kind of play going on. There's the kind of reverse mirror thing that's going on, and we see that the Holden character is actually a bit of a nice guy. He's not a dick.
Yeah, because he could spy on Dana taking clothes off, and he stops through.
And there's a moment there where he nearly lets
nearly does.
Before.
But then if you know you can get away with the crime, would you do the crime? And he doesn't.
No.
So he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
And then they do the usual thing of they run in the water, and Kurt makes fun that there's something in the water, and there really isn't something in the water. And they're just having a good old time. Then we cut back to Citizen and Hadley, and they're about to set some shit up.
Yep.
They're taking bets. Is that what they do?
Yeah, the bets bit happens. Yeah.
And it's really quite funny. And there's a big whiteboard of all these horror tropes, zombies and werewolves, vampires, and all those sort of things. They're taking bets on them. And the intern, who's also Tom Link, who's also from Buffy and also from...
sweet. I didn't realise that.
He's Ronald the intern,
Yeah. Cool.
And there's one horror that's on the wall called Kevin. And it's later revealed that basically what these people are taking bets on is that which of these horrors is going to be killing these kids.
Yeah.
And it's revealed as I think Kevin's a unicorn. I could be wrong about that.
The unicorn's so cool.
yeah. But what happens is they have this moment at night where it was a big homage to Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Where they're clowning around and they're doing dares to each other. And then they literally, the citizen had to force the basement door to flip open.
Yep.
And this Kurt's getting dumber because he's being drugged and he's acting more like a jock and sort of picking on the other guys as an alpha male. And Jules is acting really loose and quite flirtatious, even though that's not really her nature either. Again, they're all being drugged from drugs in the air.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And they go down in the basement and there's a shit ton of stuff. Props and things like music boxes and diaries to read from and stuff like that. And basically, whichever kid interacts with the prop and makes it work, that awakens the horror that's going to cause them hell, basically. And so there's a little, puzzle box by the sphere, which is clearly a homage to Hellraiser.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because it's a circle rather than the cube mechanism. And he's got saws in his head rather than pins.
Pins, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all that, and then apparently there's a merman that if you take the conch and you blow into it, and Hadley wants to see a merman because he's never seen a merman in all his years there, and he keeps betting on it.
Yeah.
You blow on the conch, and that's going to happen. But one of them is about to do that, but Dana reads the diary of the Buckner family.
Yeah,
and that's good enough to wake them. And their zombie backwards family that kills people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And that's basically our first kind of raising of the dead that occurs, and then
which is very thriller.
Yeah, true. All right, that's probably deliberate. I reckon there's a lot of deliberate little things that happen in this. Yeah. So then we get Kurt and Jules kind of go off into the woods, don't they?
Basically, to do it.
Yeah, to get it.
Rabbits. And they add pheromones to the mist to get them in the mood, and they add romantic mood lighting. So again, they control the entire...
Yeah.
And it's also shown earlier, too, that when they drive through a tunnel to get to this area, and outside this tunnel, there's an invisible force field. Really sci-fi.
Yeah.
Getting in and getting out. Yeah. And I remember, this is the thing, when this film first came out, I knew what it was, but I showed the trailer to my workmates, and the trailer starts off as a really generic horror film.
Yeah.
Big horror film. And I had some friends going, what is this? This is so shit. And then that's the shot of this eagle flying into this invisible barrier and getting killed. That makes it go, oh, okay, that's a bit different. And then the trailer keeps on going and you realise, oh, hang on, this could be kind of cool.
Do you know what? It's interesting because, I was reading one of these, top 10, top 15 kind of horror movies. And it mentioned this one purely on the fact that it not a lot is known about it from the trailer, and if you go in cold, it's actually a really quite rewarding movie.
Yeah, that's When I read it cold, so I was going, oh, okay, cool. But again, I couldn't see it as a film. But if I had not known about it and gone in and seen this movie, I wondered if that would have maybe enjoyed
impact.
It. I enjoyed it because it was better than I thought it was going to be. So
So they kind of getting busy in the woods, as in Kurt and Jules, when all of a sudden they are attacked by the Buckner zombies.
So Jules gets a shear through the hand.
Yes.
And Kurt gets a thing on the back, but doesn't really, it's superficial.
Yes.
But they hold him down as they watch, he forces him to watch as they hold Jules up and cut a throat with a saw overhead. That's pretty bad. He gets away. Kurt gets away. Because he uses the power of Thor.
He does. He wields his hammer.
And then he runs into the cabin.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
So we've got Dana and Holden.
He's piss.
Oh, Marty Stoner
Marty's
guys.
going to take a piss, and one of the butlers, the little girl, was about to kill him.
Yeah.
And Kurt just runs right through her and knocks her on her ass. And that's when they realise they're under attack. And then Dana freaks out, does open the door, and she does just as one of the butlers throws in Jules' severed head through the door. So that convinces him to close the door.
Yeah.
There's a really funny line earlier where she's... Yeah, the line from the diary, which is killing people gives my brother a husband's bulge.
That's right.
And then Dana's making out with Holden on the couch, and then a stoned Marty walks past and goes, he's got a husband's bulge.
I love that. There's so many of those little lines that, it's just kind of cool. And that's why I like that guy. I think, I know you've got your quips with him, but I liked his performance. So that's all going on, and then so the shit starts getting real at this point for them. Although they don't realise how real it is actually going to get. And so we've lost the slutty kind of character in Jules.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a bit before that happens where they start kind of acting a bit strange, and Marty makes a point of it, doesn't he? Because he says, have you noticed that everyone's acting a bit weird? Because he's like, Jules has always been a bit flirty, but she's never been like that, you know.
Like that, yeah. And it's like Kurt's pulling his alpha male shit, and he's on full scholarship. And it's proven earlier that Kurt is quite smart.
Yeah.
And then you find out there's a reason why he's actually being a bit self-aware, despite the fact he's the most stoned person in the group.
Yes.
Because the weed is both acting as an inhibitor and something that makes him clear as well. But anyway. But at this point, when they're scared and they've locked all the doors, this film does pay the biggest homage, the biggest trope in all these sort of films. Yeah. Which is Kurt goes, "We should stay together."
Yeah.
That's a good idea. And then they give him a drug. And then it cuts to Citizen and they're going, for fuck's sake. And they hit a switch. Kurt looks for another drug, and then Kurt goes all hazy, cross-eyed and hazy, and goes, it doesn't make sense, we need to split up. And the other guys go, that's a good idea. And it's actually Marty, who's stoned already, going, wait, what kind of sense does that make? And they literally run into separate rooms and lock themselves in the separate rooms. Yeah. I feel that's a good idea. Which is addressing on the biggest problem with all these sort of films, right? Yeah. Which is, why are you doing that? Because I always have this thing with and I've said this before. I have said this before on other podcasts, but I'm running out of things to say now. But the thing about these horror films, where these people who've got a poltergeist or an evil spirit in their house, and the guy says, wherever you go, it follows you. So that gives a good excuse for the filmmakers to stay in the one location.
That's the whole thing with it.
But as you and I know, if it happens, I'm telling you now, Paul, if it happens to me, my wife and I are coming to your house going, you're going to suffer through us. You're going to suffer with us, bro, because more safety in numbers. So that's it.
Right. Just as long as we don't split up, then we should be good.
So that's when they split up and they get caught up in separate rooms. And I think Marty, at this point, finds a camera in his room.
Yeah, he does, That's where he starts.
His first reaction is, I'm on a reality TV show. Yeah. Which was kind of big back. I mean, they're still big, but back then, Big Brother and that sort of.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
But I've forgotten how they get around that, as in Citizen and Hadley. How do they get around that? Because they start to freak out, and then he goes, "Oh, hold on," and then.
He's seen it. Yeah, he gets literally yanked out the window by one of the butlers.
Oh, that's right. He says,
he's going to get killed, and he basically gets dragged over the thing, and he gets killed. And it's one of those things where, at this point, you believe it, because you know they're churning through the body count now. The shock factor of the initial kill, has gone past. So now you think, okay, time to stack up the bodies. Yeah. So the kill's on camera. Yeah. You don't think for a minute he's not dead. You think, okay, great, they've gone through the stoner, because the stoner guy dies usually fairly early on.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And they move on to the next three, which is Kurt, Holden, and
Dana.
Dana. Also, at this point, apparently, this is the other interesting thing too, is this back Hadley and Citizen are both revealing gradually to their new security guards. So the new security guards are audience way in. Yeah. Because he's asking all the questions the audience are asking. Yeah. And it's revealed that what they're doing is a ritual, and there's a reason why they're doing it. And if they don't succeed, the it's catastrophic. And other countries are doing it, and every other country's failed.
Yeah.
That's revealed at the beginning of the film, actually. Every other country's failed, bar Japan and America.
Yeah.
No, Japan, and it's found. Then it's revealed that Japan have failed for the first time as well.
Yeah.
So it means it's not just on America to do it, and that sort of ratchets up the tension a little bit.
Yeah.
On their behalf, because they realise, oh fuck, the country that never fails has failed.
Yeah.
And it's again, the Japanese scenario was this horrific ghost that looks a lot like all the other.
Yeah.
Long-haired,
that's
like,
right.
In the ring. And these little girls turn over into a frog.
And they do a little song, which I think is cool. Yeah, that's right. So it's it's pretty cool.
And then Garson ends up in the basement. Kurt gets attacked because one of the big bucklers throws a bear trap into his back.
Ah, that's right.
And then he gets pulled down upside down, and then Dana literally stabs him through the eye.
That's right. Yeah.
Thinking he was dead, but it's not. Actually, he's just knocked him out. But it's Kurt, Holden, and Dana run off in the RV.
Yeah, they get into the RV. That's right. And then they kind of try and
literally go through the tunnel, and they realise back Citizen and Hadley that they should have blown the tunnel to stop them from escaping.
Yeah.
And then they're like, something's happened, and they don't know why. And so one of them, literally Citizen, I think it was, literally runs to another department who handles the explosion and goes to them, yells at them. In the script, this is a really good line, and actually it's not in the movie. In the script, he says, "Why have you guys haven't done this?" And they said, "We haven't got the orders." Yeah. And he yells at them, "You don't want me to wipe your ass? You want me to tell you to wipe your ass as well?" Then he goes down underneath their computer, crosses some wires, causes the tunnel to explode and collapse, just in the nick of time, so these kids can't escape. Yeah. And as he gets up, he goes to these people, "Wipe your ass," and he walks off, which I thought was kind of funny, but they cut that out of the movie. But so basically, they're cut off. The kids are cut off from the ravine. They can't get out.
Yeah.
But Kurt, who rides a dirt bike, sees that he can jump the ravine. He thinks he can jump the ravine to get to the other side. And he's pretty sure he does. And he says, "I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring the Marines." And blah, blah. Gets on his dirt bike, takes a massive run, and then runs smack into the invisible force field. Yeah. That's the end of Kurt.
And I love the way that you keep seeing his body hit against,
go down.
And it just keeps going and keeps going,
and that was the end of Chris Hemsworth's career. Never saw him again.
Yeah, never saw him again after. So, what was interesting about that, though, too, or do you think that was a shock killing his character at that point?
We kind
of the three that are left, or do you think that was a logical kind of choice to go there?
No, it was logical because Dana was always the hero for me. It was always seen through her eyes. This movie.
But I mean, Kurt over Holden. You think that was?
I was rooting for Holden.
Yeah. Okay.
But I kind of assumed it was going to come down to her. And at this point, I honestly thought Marty was dead.
Yeah, same.
And so, I was rooting for the two of them. But as they're driving back on the van, going back the other way, he gets stabbed to the back of the head by one of the bucklers who's in the back of the car.
And that's almost a bit kind of similar to the Samuel Jackson kind of scene from Deep Blue Sea, where he's kind of rallying the troops, kind of giving their inspiration thing. And at that point, he's the one Holden's character's been the one that's, saying, "I can't afford for you to kind of back down now. I need you here. We've got to do this together." And he's the one that's been the strong one. And all of a sudden, this thing comes speared through his neck or his head or wherever it was.
Yeah, and also I mean, Deep Blue Sea is a bad movie, but that is still considered one of the best surprise kills ever.
Yeah,
it was a really good surprise kill in what is now really dated CGI. But anyway,
20 years this year, Deep Blue Sea. Just saying. Okay. Yeah. So Holden's killed in the car, but because he's the one driving the RV, sorry, not the car, RV, it goes flying off and then into this watery lake. Is it a lake? Yeah.
Lake, yeah.
And Dana has to kind of fight her way out.
And she does.
She does. And then this one of the Buckners kind of turns up, the zombie Buckners, and she's having a fight with that. But we don't see that action. It's in the background because we go back to the guys. And the guys in the office. And they're kind of saying, it doesn't matter what happens now because she's the token virgin, and it doesn't matter if she dies or lives. She's optional.
So it's a really interesting thing. It cuts to Citizen and Hadley, and all the people are in the control room, and they're basically partying hard because they've done it. They've won. It's revealed to the security guard, because the security guard's still new, so he goes, well, they're not all dead. They are effectively all dead.
Yeah.
The virgin is optional. It doesn't matter. And this is an interesting thing. They don't care if she lives or dies.
No.
Because I've done this so much now. I mean, it's really horrific that they have turned their back on the... If she doesn't matter that she lives or dies, and they should have saved her, but they don't. It's part of the ritual. They've done their hard work.
Yeah.
And as Bradley Whitford goes... He has this really nice moment where he goes, oh, she's kind of different, this one. She's kind of sweet. I'm kind of rooting for her. And he just turns and watches a bunch of people coming with tequila. And he goes, tequila is the lady! They just party hard. And they're just literally drinking and going hard. It's a really cool... There's a really, really cool moment where this character you've never met before is really nervous. And he's got these two tickets.
Oh, I love that bit. Yeah. There you go.
He's got this really pretty co-worker on a date. And he says... it's funny you like the opera. I just happen to have 2 tickets, and then she walks off. And then you don't know who they are.
No.
But you automatically know what's going on there. It's a real like a television sitcom moment.
Yeah.
The guy, and you can tell. Again, to me, this feels like you know the guys who wrote this, and you know what kind of guys they were.
Yeah.
They weren't alpha dudes who were like, I'm going to be a writer. They were the nerds who were picked on at school.
That's right.
And that little scene really resonated with them. It resonated the hell with me. I'll tell you that much. There's like fucking moment from another show that's just inserted into this movie.
Yes.
It's really good. It's really clever. You got the intern literally trying to break into a conversation, but he's like the intern. And they're partying hard, and they've won. And then they get this one phone call from above.
Yeah.
It's a phone that's not supposed to ring, and if it does ring, then shit has not worked out right.
Yeah.
And everybody suddenly freaks out, and they answer the phone, and I realise that one of them's still alive. And that's Marty.
Yeah, you do the whole which one, and then we find out it's Marty.
Yeah. He rescues Dana.
Yeah.
With his bong telescope bong cup.
Which
he uses to knock out.
Which right at the very beginning they were trying to insist that he didn't bring with him, but obviously he needed it.
Yes.
So, and this is the scene where it's mentioned about how the marijuana he's been using has rendered him immune.
Yeah, that means he's been out. He's had enough clarity to figure out.
Yeah,
shit has gone bad, and he ends up discovering an elevator.
Yeah, so they jump back down into this. Is it the grave? Yeah, it's a grave, isn't it?
Yeah, grave of one of the Buckners.
And he kind of shows Dana that he goes, look, there's this elevator here. I don't know where it goes. Should we go in there?
Yeah,
and that's when they go in, and then we get this kind of, they stop every so often, and we get this kind of these monsters crop up, and this is where we see their Pinhead kind of character.
Menagerie of monsters: Pinhead, werewolves, ghosts, demons, witches. Yeah. It's a menagerie. They're like these blocks. The only way I can describe it is like the Cube, the movie The Cube. This cube moving around.
The Cube. That's right.
Yeah.
And instead of like booby traps, it's monsters.
Yeah.
Inside each of the cubes.
And they end up getting to this lobby area, and the actual technicians realise, shit has really gone off script.
Yeah.
That the security guard pulls a gun on them, but when Marty defeated the first zombie that tried to kill him, he literally cut off their arm. That zombie has an arm.
Yeah.
It's a roaming zombie arm, and the zombie arm distracts the security guard enough for Marty to get there, and Dana to knock the security guard out.
Yeah.
And he literally says, well done, zombie arm. And they walk out, and the last shot is this knocked out security guard as the elevator doors close on him, and the zombie hand is literally slowly walking towards his face.
I know, I love it. I had a good chuckle at that one. And I love what I love about that too is like literally minutes beforehand, Marty's getting the shits with the zombie arm because he's slipping over it and all the blood and crap and stuff, and he's kind of pissed off with it, and then he ends up going, "Oh, well done, zombie arm." I just thought that was a nice little. I loved the tone of it as he walked away. So basically, you're right. So they're now in the underground kind of like area of where of operations, as they kind of. I realise there's this facility underground,
they get cornered by a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah,
they
I was just trying to think what happens there. Off the top of my head, I remember they were cowering in like a control room, and I couldn't remember how they got there.
Yeah, they go literally into this booth. This looks like a security guard booth at the end of the elevators, but for some reason has control switches that opens up all the fucking cages. Which they do.
Yeah.
So there's not even like a master key to stop people from doing this.
No,
they
that's
literally
right.
the buttons. Literally, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And all these creatures are unleashed
all
and they
coming
kill
out. So
everybody inside.
Yeah, like there's loads. There's like obviously the giant kind of snake, and like you mentioned, the unicorn kind of makes an appearance, and
you got a guy with a chainsaw. You got a family straight out of those home invasion films.
Yeah, with the masks and stuff.
You got a ballerina with teeth for a face.
Yeah.
Every trope, every creature you can think of just comes out.
But they just keep coming.
Crowns and knives.
They just keep coming though, don't they? Because you get the bloodbath kind of happening, which is again a bit of a nod to The Shining with the pools of blood coming out of a lip. But it just keeps coming. It was relentless, and they're all eating each other and pecking each other off and killing everyone left, right, and centre. And obviously, they then also start attacking the everyday kind of workers at the facility as well. And as you said, all hell starts breaking loose. Which is cool. And then we get so at this point, Dana and Marty kind of realise that they can't stay where they are. They're going to need to kind of find a way out. Sorry, I've had hiccups.
And then we're coming to Citizen and Hadley and Amy Acker's character, who I've just realised is called Wendy Lin. She was called Wendy Lin in the script as well, so I fully expected her to be Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Amy taking jobs away from my sisters. And they're in the patrol booth. These scarecrows come in, tear the security guard apart, who ends up pulling a grenade and blowing himself up, which knocks Hadley on his ass.
Yes.
Because he is literally using a submachine gun while Citizen and Wendy are trying to find a way into the basement.
That's
right. They have a secret trapdoor.
Yeah.
And then as Hadley gets knocked on his ass, this merman comes out of the dark.
I love it.
And kills him, and the last words out of his mouth is, "Oh, come on!" and the thing just bites into him, and he's got like a snout in the back of his neck. Just blood sprays everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's the end of Hadley. Citizen, and then Wendy Lin gets attacked by some sort of pterodactyl creature that grabs her and pulls up in the air.
Yeah. Or I thought it was an octopus or something like that. I thought it had tentacles and it whipped her up and killed her.
And then Citizen literally jumps down in the basement, runs, turns a corner, gets stabbed by Dana, and dies. And the last words out of his mouth to her is, "Kill him."
Yes.
Pointing to Marty, because Marty has to die for the ritual.
That's right.
So they make their way to this sort of.
Well, that's where they see all those big kind of emblems on, of the figures on the wall where the blood's been seeping in.
So it's an ancient chamber which you feel this whole facility is built on top, and it shows 5 caricatures carved into the wall, and each one of those caricatures represents them: Jules, Kurt, Holden. Kurt's the athlete, or the soldier athlete. Yeah. Jules is the whore. Kirsten's the virgin, and she's like, Diana's the virgin, and she's like, I'm not a virgin, but apparently they have to work with what they got. Marty's the fool, Holden's the scholar. Yep. Yeah, and that's when the director comes out, which is played by Sigourney.
Yeah, and I had a chat with you, just on social media about this, because I completely forgot she was in this, and you think it's such a big moment. How do you forget that? I don't know. I clearly do.
The director was originally written as a man, and the script says he's this big, impactful dude. So it's implied that you recognise him as an actor, but he's supposed to have a lot of presence. And apparently it was during the pre-production, somebody mentioned it'd be cool to get Sigourney, and they're like, yeah, I'd love to get Sigourney. She's not going to do it. and they asked her, and then they're like, she said yes. What the fuck? And I think this is when she's finally stepping out into this matriarch role. Because the other role she did soon after this was Paul. Good name for the film. And she plays that similar sort of character. This big evil boss woman. And she has a cameo at the end, and boom, boom, boom. And the Sigourney Weaver's character, the director, tells these two kids what it's all about, which is the old gods wreaked hell on humanity, and the only way they get them to stop is humanity made a sacrifice. There had to be five tropes, and the loose woman has to die first, and the virgin last. Well, it's optional, and it has to be in that order, and it's done that way around the world. And every country's developed their own way of doing this.
Yes.
And in this universe, we would call them horror movie. In our universe, we call them horror movie tropes, but to their universe, it's just scenarios. And obviously, this is the closest they've come to failing. And the only way it can work is if you kill Marty. And she said, and Marty says, "Oh, right, okay, I die, or all of humanity dies." They both sound so enticing. What was the first one again? And then Dana's going to do it. Dana's going to shoot him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then she gets bitten by a werewolf.
Yeah, which is kind of like cool. Like, yeah.
Which means if she'd survived, she'd get turned into a werewolf, which would be in the sequel, except for the fact we know how this ends.
Yes.
And then she drops the gun.
And then there's a big kind of fight sequence between
the director and Marty.
Yeah.
And she's literally got it over him. She's about to throw him over this edge into this ravine to kill him.
Yeah.
The buckless, the little girl comes in and stabs her.
Yeah.
And she stabs the director through the head with an axe.
Yes.
And then the fact that the director falls into the ravine drags the little girl down with her. and Marty shoots, and somebody, I don't know if it's Marty or Dana, shoots the werewolf with a gun. And this is when Joss said, and I thought so too at the time, why is a werewolf running away? It's not civil bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they just hurt and don't kill him.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Well, they'd still. Yeah. I mean, like, he's probably gone to lick his wounds and then come back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, bastard. All right, I'm coming back.
This is just ow.
Stop.
Not cool.
I'm trying to eat you. Stop
Not
it.
cool. Just give me 2 seconds. So, the way I would have gone around that is I would have had him shoot the wolf through the eye. So even if it's a normal brass bullet, if it hits him through the eye, it would cause him enough pain enough to run away.
Yeah.
Get him out of the room. That's how I would have done that.
Yeah, cool. Like it. Like the colour you did. So anyway, so we're left with a very kind of bloody Dana and a bruised and battered Marty, essentially facing what looks like the end of the world.
Yeah, because everything's now collapsing around them.
Yeah, they basically come to it. Huh? Sorry.
That's when Marty says, "I don't even think Kurt has a cousin."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Dana says, "I don't think I would have shot you." Which is bullshit. She
would have done. Yeah, that's right. But they kind of decide that humanity is probably not worth saving, and it's time for someone else to rule for a while. And they kind of share a joint, and then the floor collapses, and this giant hand comes out of the ground, destroying everything. And that's it. Close credits, man.
Close credits, yeah. It's really cool. This last shot, this giant hand going smash, and it's pretty definitive. Like you think, well, yeah, they're not going to make a sequel.
Yes.
Unless you do the Jeepers Creepers route and do it a few days earlier, or do it at another location. But there's never been a sequel. They don't even talk of a sequel, has there?
Not to my knowledge. I was just kind of having a quick look around just now, but I don't think so. I don't even know where you would go with a sequel with it, to be honest. It's a pretty standalone kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like, the only way you would get around it is if somehow humanity's saved, but obviously you'd have to satiate the gods, the ancient gods again, some way, shape or form again. Like, the rituals still have to carry on. Anyway, I don't know. Spitballing. But yeah, anyway. So look, that's the end of the movie. One thing I forgot to ask at the front of which I normally ask is, do you remember when you first watched it? But I think you covered it anyway. You said you went to the movies with Greer.
Yes.
And that would have been the first time you saw it. So when you first saw that film, what was your gut reaction when you came out after watching it? I mean, I know you'd read the script, so you were kind of semi-aware of it. But
I was like, wow. There was a bowling alley or thunderstorm overhead.
Oh yeah.
Which the actual rumbling because it was really cool. It might have been a train or something. I don't know. Yep. But the actual, when the world ends, it was really cool when I was watching it in the theatre. To me, I always thought there was an interesting dichotomy is not the word. This interesting division happened when you direct a script that you write versus you directing a script you haven't written.
Yeah.
And I always told, don't dismiss the latter. Like, there's a power behind somebody taking your written work and directing it.
Yes.
Interpreting your work, and vice versa, you interpreting somebody else's work. There's a power there. But to me, this is a great example of the other way, where I came away thinking, oh, that's what you envisioned. I get it now.
Yeah.
Like I said, the script reads as what you see, but until you literally see it and get the power of what they're doing, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, you slow down at this point. Oh, I get it. As opposed to some books I read it quickly in my head because I'm thinking, oh, this is a television rhythm, so they're trying to get to the 45-minute mark and trying to carry it again. But oh no, they're slowing down at this point. Letting this bit breathe. Oh, let's give it more impact. Oh, I get what you're doing now. Oh, this bit's quicker. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
It's really much more visceral than you described.
Sure.
Oh, I get that now.
So it must be quite an interesting journey for you, though.
The control room wasn't that big in my head the way it was described.
Okay.
And when I saw it's a cinematic control room, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, right.
This is a good example of like, okay, you wrote it, I get where you're coming from, but I don't fully appreciate what you're seeing, and then I do. That was my first impression. I really loved it. I enjoyed the script. I didn't see it being a successful film. And I saw the film and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's successful. That was my impression of it all. I wasn't scared.
No.
I was going the whole time, oh, this is cool. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So it's a better film, like you say.
Yeah, it is, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. And I it just reminded me that I did enjoy the movie the first time round too. It kind of confirmed that to me, and as I said, I think that's probably why it came out on top. And you know, I mean, it was a close run thing, as I said, between this and Sinister. But there's fun to be had with this one, and I wonder if that had a component to it. I mean, there seems to be a lot of our kind of people who really, really enjoyed this film. You know, and they were kind of, when they knew that this was in the running. And what I'm saying is, I know you were kind of touting around trying to get people to swing this way, but it's not like you had to. You didn't really have to twist their arm to vote for it. That was my point. Right? They were very quite quick to go, yeah, come on, Cabin in the Woods is an awesome movie. And I think that, as I said, it says a lot to. It says a lot to the film itself. It says a lot about Joss Whedon's writing, as I said, and I think, to me, that's the kick. I think because. And again, I think maybe, as I said, Hemsworth aside, and obviously Richard Jenkins has made an impressive career both before and after this movie.
And
Bradley Whitford, yeah, that's right. So they, and I don't. It sounds a bit weird me going them aside, but like the other guys haven't kind of had their own kind of moment in the sun as much. So I think that kind of, and it's not that they're poor actors at all. They both they all played their performances really well in this movie. But I think that says it comes back down to the writing, as I said, and I think that's been the magic of this movie and why we're 2012. So like nearly 8 years on, nearly a decade on.
Shit, mate.
Not quite. I'm jumping a couple of years, but nearly.
Yeah.
And I watched it the other day, and it was like watching it fresh again. And I think that says a lot about the film.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's one I didn't spin off a genre like some successful films do.
Yeah.
To me, it's with the benefit of 8 years now. It is one of those blips that's a cool film, man.
Yeah.
And you revel in it, and you move on to the next thing.
That's right.
And for me, like True Guard, obviously did Cloverfield. Very impressive writer with all these TV credits, and very impressive. Film is a good canvas for him. He gets it. Whedon obviously does too.
Yeah.
But you always got it as it was always intended to be a one-off thing for them.
Yep.
Just homage. and move on. And yeah, it works. It totally works. But yeah, that's the interesting. It sits oddly within the horror genre. It sits oddly within Surgeons of Horror because it's not pure horror.
Yeah, and we've touched on that. Like when there are pockets, there are films we've even discussed in the past that don't necessarily sit completely in horror, and they quite happily sit across various genres. I mean, Alien's a fine example that you said before. We've gone down and discussed that numerous times now. But yeah, like it's an interesting one. I do, like I said, I came out and I still enjoy. I was just more impressed with the way that I still enjoyed it recently.
Yeah, cool.
That's what stuck with me because I was a bit like, how's this podcast going to go? Ant's a bit of a Whedon kind of fan, you know, and I admittedly kind of like things dark, and this isn't necessarily dark, and that's not. I do like a good fun film, and this sits perfectly in that area. That it's enjoyable and they know enough about the genre to kind of poke a bit of fun at it, and still offer something fresh and new, which I thought was really cool. All right, man. And on that note, I think we should probably round up our discussions of the 2012 horror movie of the year, of that particular year. Which you guys voted out there. So thanks again for kind of casting your votes. Stick around for more of these votes as they come through as we kind of post these out. The next one should probably only be a week away after this podcast has come out for 2013. Stick around for that one. Once again, I'm your host on these podcasts, Saul Murte, and I was joined by the Big Cheese, Anthony Yee. Thanks.
Hi, Mike.
Goodbye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.